Read the text of this national constitution, and you will find guarantees for absolute freedom of speech, assembly, religion, and strict due process. This is the modern constitution of the Russian Federation. Despite these written promises, Russian citizens hold virtually no defense against state overreach. The reality of the court has decoupled from the promises on the page. Positive law functions as a series of specific legislative codes, issued and regulated at the pleasure of a central government. This raises a critical question. Why do written constitutional rights so often fail to protect the people living under them? Legal standing and the structural mechanics of the court determine the actual level of protection, regardless of what the text says. Understanding American rights requires us to view the legal system as a bifurcated structure rather than a single, uniform entity. Official U.S. government annotations reveal 3 distinct legal statuses, each operating with different levels of authority. We can map this out on a matrix to compare the origin of authority, the location of sovereignty, and the court mechanisms used for enforcement. Our analysis covers 3 specific entities: one of the sovereign people, the modern Russian citizen, and the statutory U.S. citizen. Your position determines whether your rights are inherent and unalienable or merely revocable privileges. We begin with the pre-1868 baseline of American jurisprudence, the sovereign people. Their authority is inherent. These natural rights pre-exist the state and are recognized rather than granted. Sovereignty resides in the individual as the owner of the republic. The 12-person common law jury of peers serves as the ultimate check on government power in this system. In a republic, each juror represents 1/12 of society. This requires 100% consensus for a conviction and allows for absolute jury nullification, giving the people the power to physically block unjust state actions. On the other extreme, we have the modern Russian citizen. Their authority stems from legislative, state-granted constitutional codes. Sovereignty belongs strictly to the central ruling government apparatus. This system lacks an independent jury. State-appointed judges act as the sole triers of both fact and law. A trial by a judge is structurally a trial by the government. Without a popular jury, any written rights remain functionally unenforceable against the state that wrote them. The 14th Amendment introduced a hybrid third category in 1868, the statutory U.S. citizen. This new status derives its authority directly from the text of the amendment itself. The text hinges on a specific qualifier: the individual must be subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Voluntary submission to jurisdiction transfers sovereignty from the individual to the state. Sovereignty for this class is collective, held by the state acting as an ultimate administrative trustee. Under this classification, natural, unalienable rights transform into derivative civil privileges gifted by the legislature. The 14th Amendment established a distinct corporate status, placing the citizen inside a statutory sandbox where protections are derivative. If a U.S. citizen holds civil privileges, are they truly shielded by the absolute limits of the Bill of Rights? Official evidence in Senate Document 112-9 shows that these protections are conditional. Through the doctrine of selective incorporation, the Supreme Court applies the Bill of Rights as mere privileges rather than absolute prohibitions on government action. This subjects the citizen to judicial balancing tests, where the state can regulate or suspend rights based on public policy goals. These tests occur in administrative equity courts, which function differently than common law courts. The equity court is an inquisitorial system. It relies on the subjective discretion of a judge applying state codes rather than a jury applying common law. Standing in an equity court leaves the statutory U.S. citizen in the same structural position as the Russian citizen, submitting to a government judge who is interpreting government rules. This completed matrix shows 3 distinct legal realities. The defining variable across all 3 systems is the court mechanism. Modern democratic states often rely on the illusion that written legislative codes are equivalent to physical sovereignty. State apparatuses can easily override written rules when no popular force exists to physically stop them. A constitution cannot enforce itself. True legal sovereignty is a physical reality. It exists only when your peers, acting independently of the state, hold the final say. The specific jurisdictional sandbox you stand in dictates the reality of your freedom.